Hello and welcome to Tartan Touchdown episodes, and this week we have our Super Bowl preview show for you, and it must be a special night as we've got three of us to talk you through the big game. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and all podcast platforms to get the latest podcasts as they drop, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for the latest content. First up, joining me tonight is a man who has never seen a Super Bowl for his team. Is Brian, how are you?
There is no Super Bowls in Cleveland ever. Well, no, it's okay. We don't win Super Bowls. We win championships because the last time we were successful, the Super Bowl hadn't been invented yet. I'm very well, mate. It's the build up to the big dance. It's all very exciting. All very, very exciting. So, I'm loving the pre-Super Bowl build up. And yeah, let's get into it.
Excellent. And we've got Sarah joining us, whose team is probably closer to winning a Super Bowl than any of us. So, Sarah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks. I mean, closer to winning, but have never won, nor made it past the AFC Championship game, but that's okay. I have to take a second to laugh when Brian was like, oh, I'm ready to talk about everything. I'm like, Brian's just ready to be the negative Nancy on,
yes,
on the episode tonight. That's all Brian's ready for. Locked in, as we would say, as the kids would say, locked in.
Mr. Donlan is locked in.
Misery loves company, guys, and I'll bring everyone else down with me.
That's it.
Sarah, before we get into a preview, could you tell everybody where are we going to be for Super Bowl Sunday?
Yep, so we'll be at Committee Room 9. Brian won't be there. Sorry, it won't be. Me and Dan will be there. From 9 o'clock, we'll be doing a special NFL quiz. So make sure you pop along and come and join in. It's a great place if you're looking for somewhere to watch the game. They'll have it on all night. You can book your place via the Committee Room 9, so you can get all the information on Instagram or on their website, so you can drop them a DM or just book your table. And we look forward to seeing you there. We'll be in our t-shirts, which is the first preview of our t-shirts. So that's exciting.
Our first official bit of merch is not a mug.
It's not a mug. So, and isn't that joyous for everybody? So yeah, really looking forward to it. Yeah. So good. Come see, if you're there, come say hello to us. Yeah.
Excellent. And I promise the quiz is not too difficult and it's also not too easy either. So get yourselves along.
I didn't make it, so I can't make a comment for anybody. I'm sorry, guys.
Right, let's get into it. Let's get into what we're here for. Right, let's start with the road to the Super Bowl for both teams. We'll start with the Patriots. So bearing in mind they were a 4-13 team last year. At the start of the season, looking at their schedule, there's a lot of games that you could have said would have went either way. Brian, it's not the Patriots' fault that our teams had a poor season. It's fair to say that an easy schedule, Brian.
Right. I'm going to be nice first, then negative. So this is a case study actually in why, for everybody that's looking into this now, the Patriots year is a case study in why strength of schedule statistics, pre-season strength of schedule statistics are an absolute nonsense, because their pre-season one made it look like they had a tough year ahead. But you look at just the coaching cavalcade of disaster that has came after the season has wrapped up for all of these teams. There are not one, not two, not three, but 4 head coaches left total of the teams that the Patriots have played this year. And one of them is the Bengals, and no one understands why he's still employed. They can't pick their schedule. We all know that. And yes, for all the Patriot fans out there who are sat there screaming at me saying, well, we didn't pick the fact that we got to play these teams. We don't choose that we get to beat up on the Jets twice a year. I know. But there are levels to this. You know what I mean? You talk about road to the Super Bowl. The Patriots' road to the Super Bowl, it wasn't even just paved. There was some guy out there with a carpet. He was like massaging the players' shoulders as they walked along the roads. There were snacks, beverages. It is the easiest route to a Super Bowl that, do you know, you would need to go back into the annals of NFL history to find a team that has had an easier ride to the Super Bowl than this Patriots team has had. I have said it before, I will say it again, I will die on this hill that it is the easiest run you could have asked for. It's unreal. It featured the Browns! Of course it was easy.
Right, I'm going to count it because obviously at the end of the season we can look at it and go, oh, that was easy, right? But the Patriots were a 4-13 team coming into this season, right? They won 2 games in the division last year, and one of them was the Bills in week 18. So they lost to everybody. They beat the Jets once, lost to the Dolphins twice, lost to the Jets. It's a 4-13 team coming into the season. You can't say at the start of the season that was an easy schedule for them. They lost to the Steelers, But they played the Bills, they played the Bucks, they played the Bengals, they played the Ravens. No one ever predicted that those teams were going to be the way they were this season, would have. So I think it's unfair to say they had an easy schedule. Sarah, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I don't know how I feel about just being like, oh, it was easy schedule, it was fine. Like, the NFL is still the NFL at the end of the day. Like, you can come home, you can win or you can lose any single week. Don't get me wrong, I do think they had it really easy. I also think, relatively speaking, their postseasons been quite easy as well, when you take in consideration who they played against the postseason. Why are you laughing? I'm being genuinely serious.
Postseason was outrageously easy as well. They played against playoff Justin Herbert, the ghost of CJ Stroud.
If they'd played against the Jaguars, we'd be having a different conversation over here, because I don't think they would have bet us.
We would be having a different conversation. But they didn't. This is like saying,
it's like the Texans.
The ghost of CJ Stroud threw like 8,000 interceptions.
Yes, he did. But coming into the playoffs, Texans were the form team. The Texans were on that massive win streak coming into the postseason. The fact that, as we'll quote Graham here, CJ Stroud dissolved in the playoffs. That was the problem. So it wasn't. I don't think they didn't. Again, the Chargers done nothing. The 3 teams. Well, let's not say the Broncos didn't turn up, because we can't really caveat that game the way it worked out. But the Texans and the Chargers, I don't think they were easy games for the Patriots. I don't think they were. If you put that on paper at the start of the season, you would not have said they would be easy games for the Patriots.
But I think that's Brian's point, is they weren't easy games on paper, and then for some reason, somebody's got a voodoo doll set up.
Well, there you go.
Patriots headquarters, just stabbing pins and everything.
Somehow made this happen for the team. The Texans' defense was form. The Texans' offense has been fine, and I think that's fair. But, yes, that was an outrageously poor display from CJ Stroud. I am not a huge fan of CJ Stroud. I think I've made that really clear on the pod multiple times. I don't think he's that bad. He's not as bad as he played against the Patriots. He did dissolve under the pressure. He just broke. But I'm sorry, that still writes the narrative of what the Patriots season has been. Just because it's not there, they didn't turn him into a man made of sherbet, yet still he was. It's the same. It's what I mean. It's when we look at these things ahead of time and you do these, like the preseason strength of schedule projections. Oh yeah, they'll be good. You have no idea. And this doesn't take away from, to meet your point earlier, Dan, to be fair, it doesn't take away from the turnaround that New England has went through this season. Just because they played some poor team after poor team this year, it doesn't. I'm not saying the Patriots are a poor team. I'm saying they're not as good as their record represents. I don't think they should be in a Super Bowl. But the turnaround that Vrabel has overseen, Drake May has made huge steps in terms of playing at quarterback. All of that stuff is true. They still played fundamentally the worst teams in the league every single week and got away with it, but they have made progress. It's still the luckiest route to a Super Bowl we have ever seen. Right, folks, just in case you weren't clear, Brian thinks that the Patriots were lucky and did an easier run, just in case you didn't pick that up yet. Right, let's just go back to the playoffs for a second. So I've got a wee point for you here, right? So we've just talked about the playoffs here. So in theory, they did play teams who should have been more difficult for them. Right? They did win those games fairly comfortable. The Broncos game, we know what happened their way. The Knicks got out, and then the weather. That game could have went either way. So I'm not going to. I'll give them credit because they won the game, but I'm not going to say they won the game because they didn't go out and win that game in that sense of the matter. They kept the Chargers to 3 points and beat them, but they only put 16 up against them. And then the Texans, they didn't really put the Texans away. They kept CJ Stroud somehow, despite his performance, the Texans stayed in that game until late on. So, two kind of point question for you here. Does winning those games without much of a worry give them confidence, or do you think it's a concern that they've not really been tested going into a game against the Seahawks?
Okay. I think we've spoken. I know I've spoken with Gavin about this a couple of times, like when we've been doing our kind of reviews and then talking about future the games. I think teams get used to winning, regardless of who you're winning against. You get used to winning, and if you're there and you have the winning mentality, that is basically the driving force that is pushing you through to the next one, because you know how it feels to win, and you don't really know how it feels to lose. So I don't think it's a case of, oh well, they've kind of gotten away with by hook or by crook as a disservice against them, because at the end of the day they still won. I don't think they view it as we were in it till the last second and then we still won anyway. I don't think that's probably the mentality, and I also don't think that Vrabel's going to let them have that mentality. It's going to be that you're in, you play the full time, you play the full hour essentially. You play every single quarter as if it's the last time you're going to play So yeah, I don't know. I think the driving force is that they are coming in off a high, and again, nobody thought they would do it. So I don't think they'll win, but
Predictions at the end, don't ruin it.
I feel like we just like absolutely like shat on them essentially, for lack of a better term. I mean, Brian maybe did it more than I did, but so I think they do have confidence. Basically, I don't think it's unlikely. I don't think it's the most unrealistic thing in the world to happen, because literally the yellow brick road has been laid out for them, and they might as well just continue walking on it. So they could win on Sunday, but I think they will have confidence, essentially, if that's your question.
Brian, do you think the fact that they've not, in your mind, they haven't really been challenged this year, do you think they're going to be able to make that step up to play against the Seahawks? How hard do you think it's going to be for them?
I don't think it's really a case of the issue being that they've not been challenged. I think what the bigger issue is going to be is they've not had to keep up with another team. So when you look at the Patriots' journey to where they are, 16-3 against the Chargers in the wild card. It wasn't a tremendously competitive game. 28-16 against the Texans in the divisional. We've talked enough about how CJ Stroud handed the Patriots most of the points in that game. The Conference Championships was a bit of a weird one. Yes, we didn't have Bo Nix, and that certainly had a huge part to play. Of course it did. I'm going to say the weather had a bigger part to play in that game rather than either quarterback. Do the Broncos stand a better chance with Bo Nix under centre than Stidham? Of course they do. But the weather was the thing. You then compare that to, okay, we are not going to compare it against the divisional round for the Seahawks because they just came out and absolutely put the Niners to the sword. You compare it to the conference championships in the NFC, though. That was a duel. That was something where you have got the Rams and the Seahawks. They are going toe-to-toe. They are duking it out, score for score for score for score. I have faith in the Seahawks doing that against the Patriots defense. Do you have faith in Drake May doing that every drive against the Seahawks defense? That's what I bring. And Drake May has played against good defenses this off-season. And, we all know that. It's been well publicized that, on paper, Texas defense is top tier. Broncos defense, I've been championing them all year. They're incredible. You need your offense doing something, though. This is the first time, Jesus, even if we look back at the season, it's the first time since, realistically, against the Bills that they've actually played something that's close to a complete team. And even then, the Bills are very good. We know I've got a bit of love for the Bills in me. They've not had a vintage year this year. So I think the bigger issue is going to be, do you have faith? I've got faith in the Patriots defense. I think they can potentially do some stuff, but I've also got faith in the Seahawks offense. I am not sure this Patriots offense has got the firepower to keep going. I'm not saying they won't score. Are they going to score enough is going to be the question.
Yeah. Just looking back at the regular season there, right? So the two games they lost, right? They lost to the Raiders and the Steelers right at the start of the season, where they only put up 13 and 14 points. Every other regular season game, they scored at least 23 points. I'm just looking at it now. Yeah. Every other game, they scored at least 23 points. And then into the playoffs, we kind of discussed, obviously, the Chargers was a low-scoring game. The Broncos game was a low-scoring game because of the weather. But they put 28 points up on the Texans. So they're going to have to put up those scores to keep up with the Seahawks. We'll come to the actual breaking down of the game shortly. But just to box this one off, they are going to have to put on the points, which we'll see how that goes. But let's move on to the Seahawks and their route to the Super Bowl. So we talked about the Patriots schedule. I'm going to say I don't think the Seahawks schedule was a lot more difficult. They had obviously the NFC West, so obviously get the Rams and the 49ers. We know how hard that was. But then the rest of the schedule wasn't massively, I would say, difficult. Obviously they played the Jags, they played the Texans. By the time they got to the Colts were done.
They played the Commanders when Jaden Daniels was still a thing.
Was he really though?
He was playing okay at the start of the season. Well, middle of the season. He hadn't fallen off a cliff yet.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think the Seahawks have had a rough route to the playoffs. They played out against the Rams. Have obviously it's been a different story because the Rams have absolutely been toe to toe with them in all three games this year. It's been like 1 point, 2 points, and 4 points in the games. One of them was in overtime. One of them they missed a field goal that would have won them the game. They have been in very tight games this season in the games against the division teams.
Is one of those the difference maker then? Yeah. Is that the difference maker? At the end of the day, the Patriots, have won games, we know that. And yeah, from time to time they have put up decent scores. I would contest against not amazing teams, but still, they put up scores. They really haven't had to dig it out. They've not had that one where they have been really put to it and it's a really tough, gritty victory.
Yeah.
I just, if they get put in that position, do we know that they have that in the tank?
You're talking about the Seahawks?
No. The Seahawks, we know have it in the tank to compare to the Patriots. The Seahawks, we know have that in them. We don't know that about the Patriots.
Yeah. So in terms of, that's what I was going to say, do you think, especially the games against the Rams, let's talk about those games against the Rams, winning those games, and you said they were shootouts, and the Seahawks managed to win 2 of those 3 games, and the other one, they could have won it if they hadn't missed the field goal. Mm-hmm. How much belief does that then give them going into the Super Bowl, thinking, we went toe-to-toe with arguably the most offensive team in the league, and we've came out on top 2 out of 3 times, and should have been 3 out of 3?
Gives them a huge amount of confidence. They know they can do it against anyone. At the end of the day, that is it. It doesn't matter how good your offense is, we can keep up. And equally, it doesn't matter how good your offense is, our defensive unit can do enough. You know, the Seahawks have got a good defense. I wouldn't say it's a league-leading defense. Similar to the Patriots, I put the Patriots and the Seahawks defenses in fairly similar buckets. They're both very, very good units. They're not at the top of the league particularly. It then comes down to that offensive question. If you need to keep up, can you?
Yeah. We all know how good a team the 49ers were this year. Somehow. We don't know how they were a good team, but we know they were a good team with all the injuries and everything they had going on. So, I mean, week 18, it was 13-3. Right? It was a tight game. Fast forward 2 weeks, and they beat them 41-6. Do you know what I mean? So, it was like you said, that the Seahawks team can go out in the playoffs and just go and blow someone away. And it's not like we talked about the Chargers for the Patriots. It wasn't like they're up against a team like that. This was a really good 49ers team that they just completely blew out the water. So they can be dangerous when they need to be, and they can get into these gritty matches when they need to be as well. So it makes a massive difference from their confidence level. Sarah, what's your take on the way the Seahawks regular season playoffs went?
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying about how was it really all that difficult apart from their own division? And even then, you've got, obviously, the 49ers, the Rams. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it's unfair to say it's been really easy because it has been just to the end every single time, apart from when they're playing a team who clearly doesn't have a good defense. You can see it pretty much. And I was like trying to like figure out the math, and they just start, it's when they run away with it, they really run away with it. I think that's the key thing for them. Is when they get going, they just get going, and you can't stop it. And I think that's going to be the problem they're going to face, as in the Patriots are going to face on Sunday. I know we'll talk about more of the game later, but I think if Sam Darnold does what Sam Darnold has managed to do this season, I don't know what the comeback is for it, because he can just throw the ball and he can get away with doing it.
Yeah. Once they put the foot down, that it just doesn't come back off the gas straight away. It's like, they've put up 44 points twice, put up 38 points against 37 points.
They're not scared to go high. Like, they will go high. They're not a team that's like, oh, we'll just keep holding the ball and we'll just make sure that we're running the clock down, we're doing this. They want to score. They'll put up the points if they have to, or if they want to. I'm
just looking at there. 6 times they've scored at least 37 points this season.
And this is where it goes, it flies completely kind of in the, as a counter to the point that we've made for a lot of the year about the Patriots. It's about putting teams to bed. It's about actually putting them to the sword and finishing them off. And this was it. At the end of the day, we've seen that in the Niners. There was, for full kind of me at least trying to be fair, for me, that was when the injuries just caught up with the Niners. You know what I mean? They have an incredible year. It's an absolute, the work that they've done with that roster is incredible. It's a coaching masterclass. And being that competitive with the volume of injuries San Francisco have had. So we do need to acknowledge that. If I'm going to sit here and say the Pats have had it easy in all these games, I can't pretend that the Seahawks didn't have that reasonably easy against the Niners in that specific game, because they were so injured. But the Seahawks went out and said, you know, we are not going to take this week off. We are going to show you what we can do on offense and really make a point and put a marker down. I'm just not as convinced about the Patriots doing the same thing.
Yeah. So let's go into the game itself then. So let's, in the key players, the kind of key way we think this is going to break down. So we'll start with the Patriots. So they are the second highest scoring team in the league. Let's just go park who they played. They are the second highest scoring team in the league.
Stats the stat. Stat is the stat.
Exactly. The stats don't lie, as they say. So we kind of need to look at where's the key to their game plan when they have the ball, right? We kind of touched on different aspects of how the game is going to go. For me, they really need to get the run game going. And I think looking at the stats, looking at Travion Henderson in the regular season, he had 911 yards, 9 touchdowns, and he averaged 5.1 yards a carry. In the postseason, he's got 57 yards, 0 touchdowns, and he's averaging 2.4. For some reason, in the off-season, and they've went to Mondre Stevenson in the postseason for most of their runs. So he's went for 194 yards and averaging 3.8, which is just above what he done in the regular season. Stevenson has been the more favoured running back in the postseason, as opposed to the regular season. It was Henderson. How do you expect him to play this run game, Sarah?
I mean, I expect them to go with Stevenson because whatever he's doing is working through it, right? And I think they'll try and take that Seahawks defense like front early, and then if they are able to wear them down a little bit, I guess that's when you then would bring in Henderson, because Henderson, when he gets going, can do it. But he's just not been able to start it really in the postseason. But again, I don't know if it's because, can we really say that they came up against two really strong defenses? They came up against the Texans and they came up against the Broncos, and the Broncos defense didn't have really any major injury. They're not missing Bo Nix. So is it really fair to say, actually, maybe they'll use their second running back? Because I actually just think they've just been up against two really strong defenses. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you do need to start it on the ground, because I don't think they're as good in the air as when Drake May's throwing up passes. So I think it starts with the running backs, and if they can tag team them in and out, then they're probably on for a bit of a winner on it.
Yeah. I mean, Henderson has been had a great rookie season, Brian. Do you expect it to be Henderson, or do you expect it to be Stevenson to kind of start the game as a running back?
I think they'll probably try and mix it up. I actually think they'll just try and, to an extent, ride the hot hand and see how they play it out. I think the bigger thing is going to be that this is a Seahawks defense that, even if we just look at the postseason, they held Christian McCaffrey to 35 yards on the ground with 11 carries. Then the Rams, they had a little bit more success on the ground, but still, you're talking 55 yards to Blake Corum and 39 to Kyron Williams. I agree with the premise that I do think that if the Patriots are going to have some success, they need to establish the run game and they need to get it bedded in early. And I do actually also think that the Patriots running back room, as much as Christian McCaffrey, statistically, Christian McCaffrey's not been incredible this year. But I think that this is probably the best running back room the Seahawks has faced, certainly in the postseason. Yeah, I agree that this is how the Patriots, that is the route to victory. Get the run established, figure out whoever's going to have the best success. I actually think it's probably going to be Mondre that'll be more successful. I don't have a reason for it. It's just a bit of a gut thing. But they need that to work, for me, if they're going to have any success in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be for the run game to work, I think they need explosive plays on the ground as well, and I think they're going to get that more for Henderson than they are for Stevenson. So if they can find those gaps, I think Henderson's more in a position to exploit them. So Mondre will get you your 5-6 yards and your first downs, but if you're wanting the big plays on the ground, it's going to have to be Henderson that gets you them. So I'll be interested to see how it plays out. Like, I don't think there's a right answer. I think no matter which one of the two they go with, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer with them. Like, you justify it for either of them. You mentioned there, Sarah, the passing game isn't maybe as potent as what we've seen from the Seahawks, but Drake May, 4,394 yards in the regular season, 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. We've talked about the postseason games, only 4 touchdowns in that. To win the Super Bowl, Brian, they need the Drake May that's turned up in the regular season, don't they?
They do. They also need the Stephon Diggs that turned up in the regular season. Diggs is on, and this is a bit of a false start, to be fair, and I will preface it with that, because at the end of the day, that the game in Denver with the weather, you were never going to have a lot of passing, so it's a bit coloured with that. Diggs is on 73 yards for the postseason total. They need better than that out of him. Drake May has shown that he can connect with him. Diggs is the 1,000-yard season. You know what I mean? It's the marker for a good season out of any wide receiver. Hit your 1,000 yards. He did it this year. They need to see more out of him. And yeah, they need to see, and again, judging May too harshly on the postseason today is tough, because again, that Denver game is basically a gimme for any quarterback. You're not throwing a lot in those conditions. But yeah, they do. They need Drake May back to doing what Drake May did show he has got in him during the regular season. But for me, they need a big performance out of Stephon Diggs. They need him to show that he is the number one wide receiver. They need to show that they're not just going to rely on the shoeless wonder that is Mac Hollins to dig them out of this. Diggs has got the career behind him to show he is a number one, and he needs to demonstrate that on Sunday.
Yeah. For all the yards he had in the regular season, he only had 4 touchdowns. So that's looking at it now, and I looking at these stats for Justin Jefferson. I knew hadn't had a massive season, so Justin Jefferson had 2 touchdowns. CD Lamb only had 3, and that's the only 2 people that have scored less touchdowns this season than Stephon Diggs that are over 1,000 yards. So yeah, he's getting the yards, which obviously moves him down the field, but they're not finding him in the end zone. That needs to change on Sunday, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, I was just looking because I'm looking at Booty's stats, and he obviously had 6 touchdowns in the regular season. So I think I think when you just said there about how I think Diggs is really, really good at being open when they need to make it down the field, but it's Booty that seems to be the one in the end zone when they're right down there and it comes to it. I don't know if it's because maybe trust him a bit more than trust Diggs. I don't know. That could be it. Is he your staple kind of guy that you go to? But you need them both to be in the end zone and being open and being able to catch a pass. So I think Booty's is probably one to watch if you're in the end zone. I think the Seahawks will probably be covering him mostly in the end zone because that's where Drake May seems to go to.
Looking at their passing attack, I don't have the exact stats on how many of these are yards after catch, but the longest touchdown of the year was 72 yards, which is Kyle Williams, but I do believe that was a lot of yak on that one. But beyond that, they're averaging about 30 or 40 yards a touchdown, so they don't have that deep ball threat to get behind that Seahawks secondary, which they probably need to open. If they're going to have the run game, they need to open the passing game up. And yeah, they can dink and dunk and they can work their way down the field, but this Seahawks defense is probably too good to try and do that against. I feel like through the air, they need to have a couple of explosive plays, and whether that comes from May throwing at that distance or whether it comes from people getting open and making plays down the field, they need to have those explosive plays in this type of game. Brian, what do you think?
It's where you need your number one wide receiver. This is what he's there for. This is his job. It's like, he's not that we're talking about, and the names just went totally in my head. Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry's going to get you 4 yards. See, if you need 2 yards, you're getting 4 yards. See, if you need 7 yards, you're getting 4 yards. That's not who Stephon Diggs is meant to be. He is your number one. You need him to play like it, whether it comes through the air, whether it comes after the catch. You need him to be giving your offense that dynamism, the ability to go big has to be there, because you're right. They will, a good offensive performance is built on the foundation of just grind the other team down, which is fantastic. But you need to be able to go up by a couple of scores, and you ain't doing that without big plays coming. And yeah, they've got the opportunity to do that on the ground, as you've said. Stevenson absolutely has that in his locker. Both of the backs do, actually, to be very honest. Both of the backs have got that in the locker. But yeah, through there, they're going to need to keep them honest. If they want to get the best out of that run game, they're going to need to keep the Seahawks defense honest. You do that by using Stephon Diggs well. And yes, but he has had a great year in the end zone. He's a big guy. Obviously, May favours him. May is a booty man. So there is always going to be that, but that's only going to be as potent in the red zone. So you need to get there first.
Yeah. But your run game's no use to you if your wide receivers are only running 7 and 10 yards deep, because then the whole of the defence is right in front of you. So you need to stretch the field to make that space, to make the linebackers take a step back, to make the safeties take that step back because they know the ball's going to go deep. So that's basically foundation job. It's not nothing new. It's not like we're trying to tell them to do something new. But the Patriots need to find ways to do that in this game and stretch that field to allow their run game space to try and develop as well. So on the flip side, for the Patriots on their defence, 48 sacks this season. I'm just going to double check a stat that I've pulled up earlier on, because this seems like a ridiculous stat, but let me just see. Yeah, 12 sacks in the postseason at the Patriots defence. So we've seen them pressure. There you go.
To caveat that, right, they were against that Chargers O-line that could blow over in a strong gust of wind. So I feel like that's maybe a bit of an asterisk there on that 12. But
which is a fair point.
What was an earlier point about CJ Stroud dissolving?
Dissolving? Was that
Exactly. He dissolved under pressure. If that pressure hadn't been coming, we don't know what CJ's ever done. But anyway, 48 sacks across the season. We'll not talk
It's
about
a
Miles
good unit.
Garrett here, right? But 48 sacks across the unit and we have seen them pressure quarterbacks out of games.
Yeah.
We mentioned CJ Stroud. We mentioned Justin Herbert. Yeah, the offensive line's might have been great. But that defensive line done the job it had to do.
Yeah.
How can they do that against this Seahawks offensive line, Sarah?
I mean, well, they have to. That's basically what it comes down
Yeah.
to.
Well,
Like,
you will have to, but can they?
I mean, I don't see why they can't. If they can, again, I talked about how like teams get used to winning, right? So they know, and I know it's 12. I know like what about 8 of them were against the Chargers, right? But they've gotten through it and they've gotten used to being able to do that. So I don't see why they can't do it. And like obviously we spoke about how Sam Darnold has had that career resurgence, right? But he still threw 14 interceptions in the regular season. Like he is not super bad. Like if they can replicate and continue that sack rate, they can force Darnold into like the old mistake pumpkin version of Sam Darnold that sometimes comes out. Like it could happen. It's not out the realm of possibility for them.
Like you said, they're going to have to do that. It's the only way they're going to manage to slow Darnold down. But as well they can or not, it's the Seahawks line. We'll see how it plays out.
It's good. Like
Sam Darnold, we know, is not the most mobile quarterback either. So if they do get pressure at him, he's not going to be a quarterback who's going to run away from the pressure.
No, he'll just drop back in the pocket and then you can just kind of burst it open eventually. It was Brian just feeling like this.
When the Patriots, right now, again, I'll preface, I am a reasonably speaking a fan of the Patriots defense. I think it's a good unit. When they have played against teams that have a decent O-line, they played against the Ravens, they managed 1 sack. They played against the Bills. Earlier in the season, they managed 1 sack. The other game against the Bills, I'm just trying to find it now because I'm fairly certain it's not a high number. They managed 2 sacks. Are they going to be able to do this against a good line? This is the question mark because, getting 6 sacks against Justin Herbert in the postseason sounds brilliant on paper, and then you realise that there's a really genuine chance that I could line up at centre for them. It could happen. It wouldn't be that ridiculous based on how the play has gone for them. I know that we've all been I'm not a fan of the PFF graphics that come up and they rank players because how they gather those stats is really, really poor. But at the end of the day, when every single player on the line is bottom ranked in their position, it tells its own story. So the Patriots need to do it. They need to put pressure on. If they can get Sam Darnold under pressure, Sam Darnold has had 2 brilliant years. He was great in Minnesota. He has been great in Seattle. But we know that Sam Darnold has ghosts in his locker. We know that that's there. The Patriots need to bring that out. They need Sam Darnold seeing ghosts because a bit like what we said when we were talking about Sam Darnold's ceiling, comparing that against Stafford's ceiling and their floors, Sam Darnold still has the lowest floor of a quarterback that's playing on Sunday. Drake May's floor is not as low as Sam Darnold's floor. Sam Darnold, if he's playing poorly, is really, really bad at this game. But he's not done that in 2 years now. So what are we going to see? Yeah.
I mean, he's only had 27 sacks this year, which is around about 18th in the league, given the stats. But so obviously the offensive line has protected him a bit, but he's still through the 3rd most interceptions. So he might not have been sacked, but the pressure clearly then is working. So they might not need to hit him or sack him, but the pressure's causing him to throw these balls that we've seen before. The only 2 players that threw more interceptions than Sam Darnold were Geno Smith and Tua. And we know how their seasons played out, do you know what I mean? So even Justin Herbert had less interceptions than him, and he was sacked twice as many times as Sam Darnold was. They might not have to get at Sam Darnold as such, but they need to get pressure on because when the pressure comes on Sam Darnold, he is not the best at dealing with it.
He's got a mistake in him. Sam Darnold has absolutely got mistakes in him.
So on the other side, on the outside of the defence, Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots at cornerback, he's been arguably the best corner in the league this year. We know that he's going to have to be big for them, hasn't he? Against
he
probably
really is.
JSN.
Aye, he's going against the wide receiver one. At the end of the day, it's that simple. He is squaring up. You want competition. We've talked a bit, it's been one of the stories of the year how JJ hasn't had a great year, quarterback play Minnesota, blah, blah, blah. JSN has been incredible. There ain't nobody was calling JSN to be wide receiver 1 overall pre-season. It's caught most of us completely off guard. A lot of people are a fan of JSN, seen a great player there. They didn't see the best wide receiver in the league. CJ has been incredible. He has been brilliant all year. My only worry for him is that, again, it comes down to this, and I sound like such a broken record. He hasn't played a true elite wide receiver all year. You know, when they played the Bengals, they didn't have Chase. Then you just look down the list of the games they've played. There is not a top wide receiving option in there. So I actually think this is something where, again, it is this wouldn't shock me massively if JSN is kept relatively speaking in check. But the problem is that CJ has to be good on every play. GSN only has to be good on one. He only needs to win once. He wins once, you've got a huge gain, you've got a touchdown, you've got a score. CJ has to do it every single drive, every single snap. And he has that in him. He does have that in him. It's a big ask, though. And JSN has been doing it to top corners all year.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a fascinating matchup, the two of them. So, on the flip side of it, we'll obviously come to the Seahawks in a minute, but on the other side of it, you've also got Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed. So, if Christian Gonzalez takes JSN out of the game, they do have other weapons there, which is something the Patriots really can't say, as we kind of mentioned, about their options through the air. So, that's the thing. Like you said, he's going to have to be on his game the whole game. But if he is, then the other cornerbacks for the Patriots really need to up their game as well, because all they'll do is just switch it and go to Shaheed with speed, or they'll go to Cooper Kupp, because we know Cooper Kupp will catch pretty much anything that's thrown at him. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up with the cornerbacks and the wide receivers going into the game. So as we said, overall, safe to say, Patriots have not been good at putting teams away. Brian, you said this earlier on. They've still won the games though. So can they do that for one more game? Only time will tell. So let's flip over and talk about the Seahawks. So we mentioned Patriots being number 2 offense in the league. Seahawks number 3 scoring offense in the league. And we mentioned the amount of points they've put up. Brian, give me your keys to the games for this Seahawks offense. We've also talked about Sam Darnold needs to get protection. We've talked about JSN there. Put it all together. How do you see it playing out for them offensively?
Passing attack. It's as a passing attack. It's like what I said when we were going in to the AFC and NFC championship games. One of them was going to be one on the ground, and the snow made it so. And the other was going to be one through the air. And I'm going to say it's exactly the same going into Super Bowl Sunday. We need to see JSN doing what he's done all year. We need to see Cooper Kupp giving them more of the kind of intermediate yardage game that Cooper Kupp is so good at, that he'll bring them in and get it. And then, what's the odds on Shaheed getting a punt return touchdown, a kickoff return touchdown? That is some betting action that is calling to me, because I bet it's not even good odds. I bet you the books are like, no, he's doing it too regularly now.
Anyone else, it'd be good odds, but not Shaheed.
No, Shaheed's again evens, but yeah. So it is, and for me, that is where this is going to be won. I'm a big fan of Kenny Walker. I think he's brilliant. Obviously, Charbonnet's done, so they don't have that second half to the run game. It's not what they've built their year on anyway, though. I mean, yes, you need to have a run game in the league. You can't be successful without having one that functions. But it's not. That is not this Seattle Seahawks identity. It is through the air. It is in Sam Darnold we trust. Give him the ball, let him make magic happen, let him connect with JSN for some of these incredible highlight plays that we've seen all year. That's where they're going to win this game if they're going to go down to it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kenneth Walker there, so he had over 1,000 yards this season, considering there was 2 backs. Charbonnet obviously only got injured. So between the two of them, it's 1,700 yards on the ground. They're averaging Kenneth Walker's averaging 4.6 yards a carry. If they can get that production out of him this weekend, that's all they need. They don't need a first down on every play.
Nope.
If they can get 5 yards on the ground and first down, then they know they've got obviously 2 downs to get that other 5 yards, whether that's him running again or whether it is just throwing a short pass or going deep. So they know that if they can get that average out of Kenneth Walker, it sets their whole offence up the way they need it to set up, and they won't have to go through there. I know they are a pass attack, but we just mentioned what the Patriots need to do at cornerback. They still need to have a run game going and get an average out of it.
It's rule number 1 of offence. Stay on schedule. You stay on schedule, you can do a lot of things that are interesting. And Kenny Walker does. He gives you that. He keeps you on schedule. As I say, he's not going to rip an 80-yard run to the house. Watch, there you go. Money on that now, folks. I've said it won't happen. As such, it will. He's not that back. But he will. Yeah, he'll get you 4 yards. He'll get you 5 yards. And that then means second down, playbook's open. What are we doing? You've no idea. That's what Kenny Walker gives you.
Yeah, I mean, his longest this year was 55 yards, so like you say, he's not going to give you that explosive full into the field, but Shahid's going to score a kick-off return and Kenny Walker's going to score a 100-yard touchdown. Get your money on it right now. And Sam Darnold will still throw 4 interceptions as well.
Watch. We're going to see that Patriots are still winning the Super Bowl, aren't they? We're going to get here.
And you come on here and say the Seahawks were rubbish. It was easy for the Patriots.
Sam Darnold's going down in the first drive, and then I get to keep the narrative alive.
I just say that it was questionable for the game, but he's a oblique injury. But clearly, I think it's just still that injury he's carrying. I think it's not going to cause any issues. But yeah,
don't see him now said that, so now watch it happen.
It's like you and Mahomes last year.
I know. Well, what can I say?
Between the two chats so far, we have pretty much broke down much of the Seahawks offense. But is there anything else you expect from them that we've not discussed at all? I don't think so. I think it's been pretty. I think it's from how they've played. I think it's very obvious how they're going to play. They're going to test the Patriots vertically very, very early, and I think it's going to really force New England out of their comfort zone for what they've been used to playing. I think it's like Kenneth Walker's going to keep doing what Kenneth Walker does and just kind of move it, and then you're going to get JSN doing his big play threats. Yeah.
That's it. The proof is on their score lines that they've played all year of exactly what they do. One player who we haven't actually mentioned it and he's had a bit of a breakout this year as a tight end, AJ Barnley. He's coming up with some big plays from this year as well. So as we mentioned, they could pick up the quarterbacks, could pick up these receivers that we've mentioned, but Barnley's got 6 touchdowns, averaging 10 yards a catch, which is not bad for a tight end. So they have got the weapons, whether it is a wide receiver or is it a tight end, or it is Walker out of the backfield as well. He'll catch a few passes at the backfield as well. Well, I think that's the point, is that the Seahawks have every single option available that's open to them. They do not have to rely on a single line. They can do it about 6 or 7 different ways, and they don't have to find the magic way. They can just keep it ticking over. Yeah. I think that's obvious. Flipping over to their defence, we said the Patriots had 48 sacks this season. The Seahawks have had 47. Marcus Lawrence, who left the Cowboys last year because he said he wanted to win a championship, and he went to the Seahawks, and I was laughing at him. Look at him now, 6 sacks on the season and in a Super Bowl. The Marcus Lawrence is a game changer though for him. He really is such a disruptor on that defensive line. I've seen it up close for many years. They gave him the honour of being the first one off their plane when they landed as well. I don't think he's the most experienced player, some sort of thing that they do. The most experienced player gets to get off the plane first when you land for the Super Bowl. He was the first one off. So, how do you think this Seahawks defence, we kind of talked about the threats that the Patriots have on offence through the air with Stephon Diggs and on the ground. How do the Seahawks minimise that threat to give them the best chance of winning the game? I think they need to obviously rediscover that pass rush, because they've only 3 sacks in the postseason. But again, look at the offenses they've kind of come up against. So is that really fair stat? I think they're going to have to force 3rd and longs. I think they're going to have to kind of keep trying to push back May. And I think what May has shown in the last game in particular is that he can stay up and he can run quite happily, and he'll put in what he needs to do. They need to try and force that not to happen. I think they have to try and get him to also throw under pressure, because again, he maybe doesn't have those key big offensive weapons that are going to get him the big plays. And I mean, just your usual mixed coverage up, you're going to have to take away quick throws, going to have to get them down quite quickly. I think the Seahawks defense has to make May think, not react. They're going to have him sit back and analyze rather than just go, which he sometimes has a bit of a tendency to do. Yeah. I mean, looking at the Seahawks line, so between them, so there's 4 of them, at least 6 sacks this season. Drake May has been sacked 47 times this season. I just realised he's the 4th most sacked quarterback in the league in the regular season, behind Geno Smith and Cam Ward, and the aforementioned man who does not have an offensive line, Justin Herbert. So the only 3 people that have been sacked more than me. We did see him in the last couple of games start to use his feet more and just take off, but is there an issue there for the Patriots? Is this Seahawks line going to get at Drake May, Brian?
What's there? He's a young quarterback. He doesn't have anywhere near the same level of experience. It's going to be a huge game for him. This seems a wee bit of an odd bit of logic, but is the fact that he's been sacked so many times not a bad thing, that he knows how to take a hit and can't come back from it? He knows how to live with a bit of pressure and thrive to it. I think there is some logic to be seen there. But yeah, at the end of the day, they need to take away his options. The line is going to put him under pressure, but I think, Sarah, what she's saying is spot on. If they can take away the options, it's the kind of thing where I think if the Patriots do the business on Sunday, we are going to see plays coming from unlikely places on offense. It's not necessary. I do still think if they want a good chance of succeeding, we need to see Stephon Diggs, we need to see the running backs, we need to see these guys stepping up. But it's the kind of thing when you then wind up with like their wide receiver 5 getting a touchdown out of like nowhere. Their third tight end gets a big boy touchdown. Something comes off the right guard.
Efton Chisholm the third. There you go. Efton Chisholm the third. He's the guy to watch.
There you go.
Yep.
It's going to be things like that though. Because at the end of the day, I'm actually genuinely, if I hadn't looked at that stat for the Patriots, I didn't know that May had been sacked that heavily this year. In my head, and that says a lot, I suppose, the Patriots O-line is actually decent. Maybe not. Maybe May's taking way more chances than he should. His lack of experience, perhaps. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's playing against a big boy defense on Sunday. This is a Seahawks team that, is it, incredible league-leading defense? No, it's not. But is it a solid NFL unit that is great, if not elite? Absolutely, it is. And they're going to put him under pressure. He's going to need to react to it. He's going to need to show that he can thrive under when the lights are at their brightest.
When you said that, Brian, just about how obviously, like, is it a bad thing he's been sacked all that much? I really don't think it is, because I think he proves the point that he doesn't really get rattled. He's not one of these quarterbacks that gets thrown about like and has a hissy fit. He's not like Sam Darnold who feels it. So maybe him going through that all season is actually probably quite a good thing for him. And he's probably, I would imagine he is being told right now, you are going to get sacked and you have to just keep getting back up and trying again. It's not a case of I come off and I shout at my offensive line for not holding up, because they're not going to be able to hold it up every single play, and that's okay. So yeah I think it's probably quite a good thing, actually. He's had practice.
For all the times he's been sacked, he's only threw 8 interceptions in the regular season. So of those 47 sacks, he's clearly been under a lot of pressure. So that's just the ones he's been sacked. That's not including the ones he's been pressured, he's been hit, and he's still only threw 8 interceptions. So that shows you that, like you said, he might get pressured, they might get hit, but he knows how to protect that ball. And as you said, Brian, that's the opposite of Sam Darnold when he starts getting pressure.
It's where the other thing as well that we do need to respect with Drake May is that he's got game on the ground as well. He's sitting at 450-ish, 450 exactly, 450 yards exactly on the ground. But he can do work with his legs as well. You've got to respect that. And I dare say Patriots fans can get in touch with the show. I dare say some of his sacks came through those types of plays where he's been setting up for a run and he gets caught just behind the line. So yes, technically it's a sack, but it's not really. It's not the same. Getting tackled behind the line when you're running is not really a sack. So yeah, I don't know, it's something where there is a bit of kind of hope there for the Patriots fans. It's one of the ways. Are they a bit of a grittier team perhaps? Maybe.
Yeah, that Russian's really come on in the past. Like just with Drake May's Russian. Wow, it's really come on in the past couple of games.
He's lost an average of 4 yards a sack across the season. So that's an average, because there's going to be some that are big. I mean, so there is going to be ones that you had with big sacks, but to be sacked 47 times and only lose an average of 4 yards, a lot of them are in the pocket, and they're lying on the pockets. Yeah, it does show that he can just tuck the ball when he needs to, not really worry about it. Do you know what I mean? Sam Darnold on the flip side. In fact, Sam Darnold's lost less yards. Anyway,
that's your narrative, Dan.
Yes. No, but he's had less sacks though. Let me just do the quick maths. He has had less sacks though, remember? He's lost nearly 7 yards.
I've had to go for a calculator.
Nearly 7 yards a sack.
Okay.
So he's had less sacks, but he's lost nearly 7 yards on every one of them. That's a big difference.
He drops back. But you know that, like, Darnold drops back, because he wants to pass it.
Yeah.
And then throws an interception.
So we know that that's the key. We've just went through the keys of the game. We've slated players, we've praised players, we've told players they need to get their act together, and that's all about what the Super Bowl is going to be about. It's people stepping up and making those plays, whether it be on offense or defense. So let's move on to our predictions. Right, I'm going to go last because I've still not decided. I'm going to do it in the order in the screen. So for me, Sarah, give me your winner, the score, and your MVP.
Seahawks 24-20. Sam Darnold. I feel like that's really the only option.
Shockingly, I am backing the Seahawks. Seahawks 27-14. And you know, I am going to go for one that I don't want this to be reality more than I think it will be reality. I'm going to go MVP JSN.
Right. I'm now in a dilemma.
Yeah,
Do you go against the grain? I know.
Do you know, there's just something that tells me about they're somehow going to do this. Like, I don't know why.
Well,
I've got
they-
no logic. Something just tells me
My-
they're somehow going to do it.
My other suggestion would be like 24-21, one off a field goal. Like
I'm going to go for it. Patriots, right? I'm going to go for the Patriots, and I'm going to go. It's going to be tight. I'm going to go
3-0.
27-24. 3-0. Oh no, I'd cry. I'd have to leave. I'd have to leave. Couldn't.
I'm going to go 30-27.
You get that in the bookies because you'll get good odds on that one.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen the Patriots win a Super Bowl with a walk-off field goal? That's my prediction. A walk-off field goal. MVP. I think if the Patriots put 30 points up on the board, it's only going to be me. It's going to be MVP. There's going to be nobody else, unless Mondry or Henderson run for 4 touchdowns. So yeah, I'm going to go against the grain. I always back the team that never wins in the regular season, so I may as well do it in the postseason as well. Anyway, folks, Sarah, thanks for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Sunday for the quiz and our nice t-shirts. Quiz ready to go. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
I can't wait. But I swear to everybody, if I get to the fourth quarter and it's 3-0 or 0-0, I'm leaving. I'm done. I can't do it because everybody will be hammered and I'm not listening to everybody again. So you will not see me at the end of the Super Bowl. But yes, looking forward to it.
Brian, thank you for bringing your pills of positivity to the show tonight.
I am a regular ray of sunshine and I will hear no argument to the contrary.
Brian, enjoy the first half of the Super Bowl. Mr. Donlan will need his bed early to get to school the next morning.
This is very true. I thoroughly intend to enjoy it. When Bad Bunny comes out, that is probably the line that I'll need to retire for the evening and then turn off every group chat that I have. All social media will be killed so that nobody ruins it for me. So that when it does go 3-0, no, it's happened.
That brings our show to an end, folks. With the game only 2 days away, it's going to be a very intriguing battle. We'll be back next week with our final weekly show of the season to dissect the Super Bowl. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube and all podcast platforms to get our episodes the minute they drop. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for all the latest content. Until next time, we'll see you soon.